It's not your looks, not your charm, not even your effort. It's one internal shift, one silent, powerful change in energy that flips everything and makes him choose you over anyone else. Not because you need him, but because you no longer need to be needed. The myth of effort and the truth about energy. You've been told to try harder, be more interesting, more available, more everything. But here's what no one tells you. He doesn't choose based on who does the most. He chooses based on how you make him feel. And the truth is, you can't perform your way into that feeling. You can only become it. There's a silent shift that changes everything. It's not a tactic, not a game, not some psychological trick to get him to commit. It's a return to something deeper, quieter, more powerful. You stop performing for his attention and start embodying your own presence. That's the shift. And he feels it immediately, even if he doesn't know what changed. Because when you operate from pick me energy, he feels the static. He may be flattered, he may be entertained, but he won't be moved. Why? Because you've made him the center of your power instead of yourself. And nothing about that feels safe, or magnetic, or real. You can show up with beauty, intelligence, even kindness. But if it's wrapped in a layer of self-abandonment, he will feel it in his gut and pull away, not because you're wrong, but because your energy says, I need you to choose me so I can choose myself. That's the kind of energy that drains. That's the kind of presence that gets overlooked, no matter how perfect it tries to be. But the moment you return to yourself, the moment you stop performing and simply exist in your own rhythm, you become unforgettable, not loud, not forceful, just present. And that presence is what he's been searching for in all the noise. You don't win a man's soul by chasing. You win it by standing still and letting your energy say what words never could. I know who I am. You're welcome here, but I don't need you to stay. That's the psychological shift, the one that flips everything, the one that makes him pause, look again, and wonder how he ever overlooked you in the first place. The shift from choose me to I choose me. You've spent years perfecting the art of being enough. Enough to keep his interest, enough to make him stay, enough to stand out from the rest. And maybe you thought that if you were good enough, he'd finally see you, finally choose you. But chasing worth through his eyes will always leave you feeling blind to your own. Here's the truth. The shift doesn't happen when he finally chooses you. It happens the moment you choose yourself, without waiting, without needing his permission. And when you do, everything changes. You stop showing up as someone asking, am I enough for him? And start showing up as someone wondering, is he enough for the version of me I've become? That shift, subtle but seismic, reorganizes the entire energy of the connection. He feels it, even if you say nothing, even if you don't move. Your energy becomes sovereign, untouchable, not because you built walls, but because you finally built a foundation. Before this shift, you might have compromised. You might have made excuses for his mixed signals, tolerated his confusion, clung to the potential of who he could be someday. But now, you don't wait on potential. You align with reality, and your presence becomes magnetic because it's no longer performative. This is the point where men start to lean in, where they sense the change, where your silence becomes louder than your words ever were. He notices the way you don't chase, the way you smile from your center, the way your boundaries now feel like elegance, not resistance. Because here's what's really happening. You've stopped needing to be chosen and started living as if you've already been chosen by the one person who matters most, you. And when you live from that energy, he doesn't just feel drawn to you. He starts to question himself, not in a way that shames him, but in a way that wakes him up. Because in your self-possession, he sees everything he's never truly claimed in himself. You're not a fantasy. You're not a savior. You're a mirror. And mirrors don't chase. They reflect. You reflect the kind of woman who doesn't ask to be chosen. She already is the choice. And that is the shift his mind may not understand, but his soul can't ignore. How this triggers deep attraction in his mind. There's something mysterious that happens when a woman stops reaching for him and starts resting in herself. It's not about being cold or distant or unavailable. That's just emotional armor. This shift, it's deeper than that. It's embodied. It radiates out of you, even in silence. And it speaks directly to something ancient inside him. See, he doesn't fall in love with your effort, or your availability, or even your beauty. He falls in love with the feeling he gets when he's around you, and when your presence feels like grounded wholeness. Something in him unlocks, not the version of him that wants a fling or a fantasy, but the version of him that wants to come home. Because here's the secret. When you stop needing to be chosen, he starts questioning why he ever chased anything else. Why? Because self-possessed women awaken a man's anima, the inner feminine he's unconsciously been seeking to integrate. Carl Jung taught that men project this anima onto the women they're most drawn to. But not just any woman, the ones who carry a resonance, a subtle balance of warmth and sovereignty, presence without pursuit, openness without self-sacrifice. You become more than a partner. You become a symbol, a mirror of the emotional depth he hasn't yet explored. And whether he's aware of it or not, he can't unfeel that. It stirs something, something he didn't know he was looking for. Because most of what he's known has been conditional, conditional attention, conditional connection, conditional validation. But your energy? It's clean, not grasping, not performing, not conditional. It says, I'm not here to complete you. I'm here because I'm already complete. And that presence, it doesn't just attract him, it confronts him, not with aggression, but with clarity. And clarity always leaves a mark, especially on someone who's used to noise. In your calm, he notices his chaos. In your self-trust, he feels his confusion. In your fullness, he feels his hunger. And for the first time, he begins to see the difference between attraction and depth. This isn't about seduction. It's about resonance. It's about becoming the one he feels at peace around. Not because you're playing a part, but because you've stopped playing any part at all. You are not an act. You are not an application. You are not a bid for affection. You are a reflection of his deepest longing, the one even he hasn't learned how to name. And that is why your absence haunts him more than your presence ever could, because it reminds him of something rare and real. What happens after you shift and why it stays with him. By now, something in you has already shifted, not because you changed who you are, but because you finally returned to who you've always been. And whether he says it or not, he notices. It shows up in small ways. In the way he watches you now. In the silence that stretches between messages. In the subtle tension. Not because you're doing less, but because you're no longer reaching. You are centered. And that center is no longer orbiting him. It's orbiting you. You've become a fixed point in your own emotional universe. Not waiting, not wondering, not shrinking. You're just steady, and it unravels him. Because when a man meets a woman who isn't chasing, who isn't performing, who isn't trapped in the hunger to be chosen, he doesn't just see her, he remembers her, not as someone from his past, but as someone his soul has known all along. She was the one he couldn't quite name, the one he thought he'd recognized by shape or sound or appearance. But he was wrong. He recognizes her by her energy, the calm, the clarity, the depth. And now that he's felt it, he can't unfeel it. Even if he walks away, even if he pretends not to care, even if he chooses someone else. Because none of that matters anymore. What matters is the imprint. And here's what no one tells you. The most powerful women don't chase outcomes. They create imprints. Deep ones, psychic ones. The kind of imprint that lingers in a man's life for years. Even if he doesn't fully understand why. He might forget what you wore, what you said, what you gave, but he will never forget how he felt when you stopped performing and started existing in your truth. That's what stays. Not the strategy, not the seduction, but the shift. Because while others played roles, you became real. And real doesn't age. It echoes. So what happens next? Maybe he rises to meet you. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he grows. Or maybe he retreats. But you? You no longer live in that waiting room. You no longer orbit his potential. You no longer fold yourself in half to make someone else whole. Because the woman you are now, she doesn't just want to be chosen. She wants to be seen, felt, met, fully. No more breadcrumbs. No more half love. No more almost. You've made the shift from please love me to I already am. And in that shift, you become the one he can't replace. Because you were never competing in the first place. You were simply becoming the version of you that never needed to chase. Only remember who she is. Remember what she deserves. And remember this, the one who chooses herself becomes the one they never forget. Not because she asked for it, but because she embodied it. The irresistible power of living as the chosen one. Let's be clear. This shift you've made, it's not about becoming someone else. It's about unbecoming everything you were told to be, just to be loved. It's not a strategy. It's not a manipulation. It's not a psychological trick to get him to want you. It's truth. It's soul. It's your return to what's always been sacred inside you. The part that never needed proof. Because the most magnetic thing a woman can do is to stop performing and start embodying. Embodying grace. Embodying enoughness. Embodying a standard so rooted that even if he doesn't rise to meet it, you don't lower yourself to feel chosen. You walk on, not in bitterness, not in resentment, but in remembrance. Remembrance of who you are, what you carry, and what you no longer accept in the name of love. This isn't about making him regret. It's about releasing the need to be understood by someone who hasn't even begun to understand themselves. It's not about making him choose you. It's about realizing you were never in competition with them. You were only ever in competition with the version of you who thought she had to earn love. But now, you don't chase love. You embody it. And because of that, you attract those who are ready for it. And those who aren't, they fall away. Let them. Let the almost dissolve. Let the confused drift. Let the ones who couldn't choose silence. Because the one who's aligned with you, the one who's emotionally present, spiritually awake, and soulfully ready, he won't make you guess. He won't make you shrink. And he certainly won't make you feel like an option. He'll recognize the shift because he's made it too. And until then, you live, you rise, you expand, you create, you rest, you glow, you soften into your power and harden in your standards, and you never again ask. And even if he never says it out loud, he'll know it because he'll feel it. And long after the noise fades, you'll be the stillness he remembers. So now that you know the shift, the only question left is, are you finally ready to stop waiting to be chosen and start living as if you already are? If this spoke to you, subscribe for more soul-deep insights. Drop a comment with what resonated most. Share this with someone who needs to reclaim their worth. Because the moment you choose yourself, you don't just change your story, you change your energy. And that changes everything. Your power isn't in becoming more, it's in realizing you were never less. And once you see that clearly, he will too.